Today I learned about Francesco Corbetta. He brought the guitar to the rest of the world and was one of the first people to write complex, plucked music for the instrument. If it wasn't for him, the guitar would be a folk instrument restricted to Spain and Italy. Today I learned that the lyrics to Michael Jackson's Smooth Criminal were inspired by the CPR doll Recessa Ann, a dummy used to teach people how to properly perform CPR. Trainees are taught to ask Annie, "Are you okay?" while performing CPR on the dummy. Today I learned a new kind of artificial cornea successfully restored sight in a 78-year-old man. The surgery uses a lens which can more easily replace damaged tissue in a simpler surgery. Immediately after the surgery, the patient was able to recognize family members and read numbers on an eye chart. Today I learned more than 6 billion different knot types have been identified by mathematicians and scientists since the 1800s. Today I learned that Will Sampson had never acted before playing Chief in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. The producers were just looking for a tall Native American and chose the 6'7", 2.01 meter Sampson after a car dealer called them and said, "The biggest son of a bitch Indian came in the other day." Today I learned the great composer J.S. Bach, who created monumentally beautiful choral works like the St. Matthew Passion, got into a dagger fight with one of his students after calling him a nanny goat bassoonist. Today I learned that the story of the Chernobyl power plant didn't end with a tragedy in 1986. There was actually a second fire that broke out on Reactor 2 in 1991, and it wasn't until 2000 that the last operating reactor was fully shut down. Today I learned that a helium balloon on the moon, unlike what might feel intuitive, would drop to the ground as if it was heavy. Today I learned that over 200 bird species, including the northern cardinals, wild turkeys, and Baltimore orioles, use a method of pest control called anting. They take an ant in their beak and wipe their tail feathers in order to deter lice. The ants release formic acid that the birds utilize routinely. Today I learned that Canadian sports network rivals TSN and Sportsnet were once based at the same office complex, with only a parking lot separating the two. Workers would refer to leaving one channel for the other as crossing the lot. Today I learned an Australian beer company had to change the design of its beer bottle because male jewel beetles were mating with the bottle thinking it was a female. This odd behavior was observed in 1983 by 2 biologists. Today I learned about the Quadro Tracker, a metal antenna hinged to a hollow plastic handle bought by police in the 90s for $400 to $8,000 per unit. The manufacturer claimed the antenna would swivel to point towards a sought object or person. The fraud was exposed in 1996, and the company executives acquitted in 1997. Today I learned the pre-Columbian Native American Iron Age was caused by Japanese shipwrecks brought to the Pacific Northwest by the Kuroshio Current. By the time Europeans arrived, tribes had been creating iron tools and weapons for years. Today I learned that from 1956 to 1977, Mississippi had a government commission empowered to investigate anyone suspected of supporting black civil rights, and that encouraged businesses and landlords to fire and evict black residents. Today I learned the intensity of sound is measured in decibels, dB. The decibel scale is logarithmic. Basically, a 40 decibel sound is not twice as loud as 20 decibel one, but 100 times louder. Also, one alarm clock ringing at 70 decibels, 2 alarm clocks ringing together don't hit 140 decibels on scale, but measure 73 decibels. Today I learned the Star Trek theme tune is not just an instrumental, but has lyrics which were never intended to be recorded in order to give the writer more money in royalties. Today I learned about the 996 working hour system, which is mainly implemented in China. 996 stands for working 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. 6 days a week. Today I learned of Eloise Cobell, Yellowbird Woman, who founded the first Native American-owned bank. As treasurer of the Blackfeet Nation, she tried to resolve accounting discrepancies regarding leases on Indian land, which led to a $3.4 billion class action settlement against the U.S. government. Today I learned Ed McMahon was never the spokesperson for the Publishers Clearing House, nor has any association with the company. He was the spokesperson for a competitor company, American Family Publishers, which had basically the same kind of promotion. Today I learned of Julia, a Muppet introduced in April of 2015 on Sesame Street as the first to have autism. Every year since, she has been featured in the April show, as that is Autism Awareness Month. She is played by Stacy Gordon, whose son is on the spectrum and named after her daughter. Today I learned about the Ghost Fleet of the Potomac, 200 or so wrecks of abandoned ships, most from World War I. It has become a unique ecological system full of fish, birds, and other wildlife, and opportunities for archaeological discoveries. In 2019, it became a national marine sanctuary. Today I learned that the average ballpoint pen can write for 900 meters. Bic crystal pens have 2.5 kilometers of ink, and Selter pens have 4 to 5 kilometers. There is also the Fisher Infinium pen that supposedly will not run out in your lifetime. Today I learned that Jan Dimser, a window washer who worked at the World Trade Center, used a squeegee handle to save himself, as well as 5 other men trapped in an elevator during the 9/11 attacks. All 6 men managed to escape and run to safety just minutes before the second tower collapsed. Today I learned that Saved by the Bell was originally called Good Morning Miss Bliss. It was set in Indianapolis, included Zach, Screech, Lisa, and Mr. Belding, and was retrofitted into Saved by the Bell after 1 season. Today I learned that at noon, every April 21st, the day of the birth of Rome, the sun enters the oculus of the Pantheon at an inclination, radiating perfectly on the entrance doorway. The emperor was fully illuminated when he entered in the temple. Today I learned the King of Hearts is the only king to not have a mustache. The so-called Suicide King, who earned his name because it looks like he's stabbing himself in the head with a sword, wasn't always barefaced. He mistakenly lost his facial hair in a redesign. Today I learned that 87 men died on the Potomac after 2 ships collided while searching for John Wilkes Booth after he assassinated Abraham Lincoln. Today I learned that Eugene Bullard, America's first black fighter pilot, who without the wager of a $2,000 bet would have never flown at all. Remarkably, he fought for the French, was a boxer, stevedore, jazz drummer, club owner, and finally an elevator operator in New York City. Today I learned that there are Amazonian moths that drink the tears of sleeping birds. Tear drinking is not unusual for moths and butterflies because it's a source of salt, but this one is because salt is readily available due to annual flooding, and you know it's a bird. Today I learned Bruce Springsteen's only Billboard #1 credit as a songwriter was when Manfred Mann's Earth Band did a cover of his song Blinded by the Light in 1976. Today I learned Kleenex tissues were originally designed as a crepe paper that were used as filters in gas masks during World War I. Today I learned on September 5th, 1942, United States Navy Petty Officer First Class Charles Jackson French of Omaha, Nebraska, swam through the night for 6 to 8 hours, pulling a raft of 15 wounded sailors with a rope around his stomach through shark-infested waters after the USS Gregory was hit. Today I learned a total of 532 cars were destroyed in the making of Transformers 3: Dark of the Moon. Today I learned in October 2015, a team from Stanford University built a self-driving DeLorean, which they programmed to constantly perform donuts on a test track. Today I learned that during World War I, Italy refused to assist its prisoners and even hindered efforts by soldiers' families to send them food. As a result, the death rate for Italian prisoners was 9 times worse than that of Austro-Hungarian prisoners in Italy. Today I learned of the Pazzi conspiracy, an attempt by the Pazzi family to assassinate Lorenzo de' Medici and his brother Giuliano and displace the Medici family as the rulers of Renaissance-era Florence. Lorenzo survived the plot, and the way he dealt with it led to greater public support for the Medici regime. Today I learned from 1991 to 1993 and on 1994, Biosphere 2, a closed ecological system containing several biomes such as oceanic, mangrove, wetlands, and savanna, was studied to see, for purposes of space conquest, whether humans could live in such closed artificial ecosystems. Today I learned an early draft of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory called Charlie's Chocolate Boy has a black-skinned Charlie get trapped in a life-sized chocolate mold. Unaware that Charlie is inside, Wonka brings the chocolate home for his son's Easter basket, and Charlie thwarts a home invasion. Today I learned that a Serbian high school biology textbook used a picture of Nicolas Cage and Holly Hunter in Raising Arizona on the cover from 1993 to 2001.